Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Metabolism and Menopause podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I am your host and CEO of VitalityOET. We are a women's nutrition, health, and fitness company that focuses predominantly on women's hormones, particularly as they start going through perimenopause and onwards. We know that you start experiencing so many changes in this time of your life, whether it be hot flashes, night sweats, irritability, brain fog, or that weight gain around the middle that seems to come out of absolutely nowhere despite you not changing anything. So you go back to those tried and true methods of cutting calories, cutting carbs, doing a bunch of cardio, yet nothing seems to be working. It feels like everything you used to do doesn't work anymore. You're putting in all this effort and yet you're moving backwards. But we know now that your body is inherently different now that you've gone through these hormonal changes. So our mission here at Vitality is to really help you understand how your body changes in this time of your life so you can reach those health and fitness goals, make sure you feel at home and in control in your body again, live a life full of vitality, and really understand how to take care of this new body of yours. So today, I have a very fun topic. I want to go over these 7 habits that seem healthy, but they're actually keeping you fat in menopause. And there are going to be caveats to all these, obviously, but this list is probably going to surprise you. So I am going to go over all these things that seem like they should be helping you, but really they could be stalling your progress or making you go backwards. Dive into the little bit of hormone stuff that way as well. But I am sure that you are doing more than a couple of these things on this list. And by changing them, you'll get those results that you're looking for. So number one of the biggest mistakes that seem healthy, and while they can be healthy in other terms, it's not going to help you get to your fat loss goals. So number 1, doing a bunch of cardio, doing a bunch of HIIT, doing a bunch of boot camps, the circuit training, the orange theories, the F45s, the high intensity, high heart rate, really sweaty workouts. And yes, there are studies that show that like doing sprint interval training and doing some HIIT training can be beneficial for women in perimenopause and menopause if and only if they are in a place where their body can handle that amount of stress, because that is a stress on your body. It can benefit you in terms of cardiovascular health and things like that. However, if you are someone who is under eating, is tired, is not sleeping well, is having those afternoon crashes, you're struggling with cravings, you aren't getting enough protein, you are go, you are skipping meals, you are just constantly on this high alert, the cardio, the HIIT, the boot camps are actually going to make that stress on your body that much worse. So let me explain. First of all, those kind of workouts do not build muscle. Okay, so most of us are trying to look fit and look toned, right? Like that's what we want. Is we want to have like muscle on our arms again. We want to have that definition. We want to look lean and like we're fit. We want to look like we work out. But those types of workouts don't equal those kinds of results that you're looking for. So while there might be benefits for cardiovascular health, for example, understanding that it might not get you to the physique goals that you want is very important. So with our cardio, HIIT, boot camps, those kinds of things, what it does is it sends a signal to your body to be more efficient with calories. So if I'm running, I'm just gonna make up numbers that make no sense, but easy numbers for you to understand kind of what I'm explaining here. So let's say that you're running for 10 minutes a day at, 4 miles an hour, let's say, and that's gonna burn 100 calories. Every time you do that, your body's gonna get better and better and better at doing that 10-minute run at 4 miles an hour. It's going to burn less calories. Your body is adapting to the signal that you're sending it. And our body, when we're doing cardio type exercises, which is what the HIIT is, that is what the orange theories, the F45s, all those classes are, the boot camp styles, they're really just cardio. They're sending a signal to your body of, hey, I have to be better at not burning so many calories, because we keep seeming to do this. We want to get better at what we're doing. And so we get better at cardio by burning less calories. So how does that happen? Well, now the next time you do it, you're going to see you only burn 96 calories. The next time you do that exact same workout, you're only going to burn 93 calories, and it's going to go down and down and down. So in order to burn the same amount of calories that you did at the beginning, you have to do it more often or longer or at a higher intensity, because our body just gets better at doing it with less calories, right? So how is our body getting better at that exercise without burning as many calories. Like, how's that happen? Well, your body starts to break down muscle mass because your muscle burns a lot of calories at rest. It's not necessary to have when you're doing those cardio type exercises. So your body's like, we don't need it. This is great. It's going to make us more fuel efficient, more like a hybrid car. So we're not burning as many calories. And that's how you get better at that exercise. There's also different like fiber type changes and mitochondrial changes and all these things that I'm not going to dive into the sciencey bits of it for you, but you just need to know that your body breaks down muscle mass. So you lose muscle, making your body fat percentage go up. And then you're also going to burn less calories. And you're going to burn less calories at rest because the less muscle you have, the less calories you burn. So your body gets worse at burning calories, which is going to make weight loss a lot harder. And then you have to add on top of that when your estrogen goes down, our body has a harder time building muscle mass. That's one of the big roles that estrogen plays in our body. We also see that estrogen helps keep our cortisol in check, that stress hormone. And when cortisol is high, we see that our muscle mass decreases, we have more energy crashes, we have more cravings, we have more bloating, liver issues, our thyroid function slows down, which means we burn even less calories at rest. We start having more instances of fatigue. We start waking up at nighttime between like 1 and 4 a.m., or we're exhausted, but our brain won't shut off. We see our hormone production decreases even more. Our blood sugar control gets worse. And you can see how all of those things are definitely not going to help you lose weight. In fact, it's probably going to make your body want to store fat. So by doing this, when your estrogen is declining, it's an extra stress on your body. And that means that your body's going to break down even more muscle mass. And muscle is so hard to put on. You lose about 10% of your muscle mass in the 3 to 4 years leading up to menopause. So menopause is the day that you've gone a full year without a cycle. You can lose up to 10% of your muscle mass in those 3 to 4 years before that. And you could have a regular cycle during that time. So this is why it's really important to make sure that you're working out in a way to preserve muscle mass. You can stay looking fit. You can stay looking toned. Then you're not going to struggle as much later. Muscle helps us with our blood sugar control. It has so many benefits. And so we want to make sure that we're working out in a way to preserve and build that muscle mass. And unfortunately, the cardio, the HIITs, the boot camps, the Orange Theories, the F45s do not do that. So that means you have to do some resistance training. And that doesn't mean doing the workout videos on YouTube. We are talking about actual true strength training. And this means that you're lifting 6 to 8 repetitions. If you can lift 10, that means you have to up your weights, or you have to do the movement slower to make it more challenging so you can't do more than 10 repetitions. You want to focus on getting stronger every single week. You're following the same workout program for 4 to 6 weeks before you change it up. So if you're doing 3 days a week, you're doing full bodies, that's how you're going to maximize your results. You're hitting the muscle groups consistently enough that you're going to get that big muscle building signal that we want without overtraining and seeing a decrease in your muscle mass. That's really important. So let's say you're doing full body Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You are doing the same workouts every Monday, the same workouts every Wednesday, the same workouts every Friday for 4 to 6 weeks. And then you change it up. Okay. You change up your exercises, your tempo, whatever it might be. But that's how you progressively overload. That's going to send the signal to your body of, hey, I need to build and maintain muscle mass because for some reason, Stephanie keeps trying to do a bicep curl heavier every single week. So your body's obviously going to prioritize building and maintaining that bicep muscle because you keep saying this signal of like, hey, this muscle needs to be strong. I have a demand that I'm trying to meet, whereas cardio is going to shrink that. So that's really important to understand. So if you want to do cardio, there's nothing wrong with that, but you need to realize that it might not be beneficial for your overall aesthetic goal, which is fine. If you are going to do cardio, avoid doing it on a leg day. And avoid doing it before your workouts. Do that your cardio after or on off days, because otherwise you're not going to get as much out of your workouts. And we've actually seen in studies where doing cardio prior to your workout is actually going to result in less bang for your buck in terms of the results that you can get in terms of strength and muscle building. So that's mistake number 1. Seems healthy, but it's, not being conducive to your health and fitness goals. Number 2, this is one of my favorites to talk about, which is fasted exercise. So a lot of women are told if you work out fasted, you'll burn more fat. I am here to tell you that has been debunked for a long time. That is not true. So I don't know where this is still floating around out there. And it just seems to stick. It's wild because the evidence is very clear that that is not true. In fact, women do better in a fed state. You will have a better workout because you'll have energy. You're also going to see that you burn more calories during and after as well. So this is something that's been documented as well. It's important to note that as we go through perimenopause in the years that follow, when estrogen goes down, we have a much harder time accessing those energy stores. So what that means is you are literally working out with less fuel availability. So you're not going to be able to get as strong. You're not going to be able to lift as heavy. You're not going to be able to push yourself as hard, which means the results that you get from that workout, you're not reaching that optimal potential. So it sucks to work out and not look like it, right? So this is the other thing. So you need to make sure you're having a pre-workout snack, and that can have carbohydrates in it. So typically if you're an early morning riser, for example, I always say just have some fruit, maybe a scoop of yogurt, maybe it's some rice cakes with a little bit of nut butter, like nothing big, but you need something readily accessible that's going to digest fairly quickly, get into your bloodstream to be able to fuel your body for that workout, okay? So very, very, very important to, again, get the best results that you can. There are no benefits to working out fasted for women in perimenopause and menopause. You just don't do it. It's very well documented by multiple researchers now at this point, which is fantastic that it's finally out there. Mistake number 3, low carb diets. Everyone thinks eating low carb must be the answer, that it must be the thing that helps with insulin resistance. It's the thing that's going to help me lose weight. Because this one time I did keto and I lost all this weight. Yeah, you lost weight, but it was just water. You didn't lose fat. And where are you now? You wouldn't be listening to this if you were, crushing it, right? So obviously things need to change because we know what you're doing is not working anymore. So why are carbs so helpful for changing your physique in perimenopause and menopause for the better? Well, they help you preserve muscle mass. So carbohydrates are called muscle sparing. If you have carbohydrates, your body has adequate energy to fuel your body's needs. If you're not getting enough carbohydrates, you're not getting enough calories, your body is going to break down muscle, take it to your liver. Your liver is going to turn it into sugar anyways, dump it into your bloodstream to then see a rise in your blood sugars, which then insulin will come up to try and help you use those sugars wherever you need them. And then again, the cycle continues. So by eating low carb, you can actually give yourself insulin resistance. We see this in women who've done keto for a long time. It sucks, and we have to increase carbohydrates very slowly. But again, carbohydrates help you build muscle. You will not see any single athlete, any bodybuilder, any CrossFit athlete, any athlete at all, the people that have like your quote unquote dream physique, right? If they're active, they're having carbohydrates. You will not find an athlete without it. Otherwise, it's going to lead to a ton of issues. You're going to have low energy because it's our body's preferred energy source. There was a study somewhere that said that your brain needs about 130 grams of carbohydrates alone just to fuel your brain. So fun fact, plus, everything else that you're doing in a day. It's important for thyroid health. If you do not have good thyroid levels, your metabolism slows down. Your body gets worse at burning calories, which is going to make it a lot harder for you to lose weight. So carbohydrates actually help with your thyroid function. So this isn't meaning like have your chips and have your candy and your chocolates and your ice cream, right? I'm talking about have a potato, have some rice, some quinoa, some oats, some fruit. There are so many things that are really, really helpful for you for your carbs. They're healthy for you. There's fiber in them. There's so many good things. The fiber is going to help you with your gut health. It's also going to help lower your cholesterol levels, which go up when estrogen goes down during perimenopause and menopause. It's going to help bring your cortisol levels down. We know all the negative side effects that come with cortisol, including that menopause belly, right? That belly fat that's very stubborn that won't disappear. But we know that when estrogen goes down, it takes a lot less for our cortisol levels to go up. So before you can handle all this stress, right? The low calorie, the low carb, the crazy exercise routines, the lack of sleep, the go, the skipping the meals, working out fasted, You have all of these things that are stressors on this big dinner plate. Coach Chelsea gave me this analogy and I love it. So you have this big dinner plate. But then as estrogen goes down, that dinner plate gets smaller and it's more like a side salad plate. But you still have all these stressors on top and that plate cannot handle that anymore. That's exactly what's happening when our estrogen goes down. So you feel like you may have not changed anything, right? And like your body's rebelling against you, but it's because internally things have changed with those hormone levels. So again, carbohydrates will help increase your stress tolerance. We can't always remove stressors from our life. Having enough carbohydrates in your diet will help buffer that, which is amazing. Plus carbs are delicious, you guys. The other thing too is carbohydrates help keep your blood sugars in check, believe it or not, with that fiber. However, like everyone's like, oh, carbs increase blood sugars. But I just said, if you're not having carbohydrates and you're not eating enough food, your body breaks down muscle, takes it to your liver, it turns it into sugar, but puts it in your bloodstream. So you have to have adequate carbohydrates in your diet to help avoid that cycle. So how can you eat your carbohydrates without seeing a blood sugar spike? Have most of your protein and veggies first before dipping into your carbohydrates. Choosing carbohydrates that have a little bit more fiber in it is always beneficial, but the order of eating is going to make a huge difference for you. So that's what that is. And then also make sure you're having carbs at every meal. Number 4, eating low calorie or always dieting. We always think like, oh, if I'm eating little, then that's healthy, right? If I'm not having many calories, that must be healthy for me. No, it is not. If you are in a low calorie state, your metabolism is going to slow down. So I always love to give this analogy. Let's say your maintenance is at 2,000 calories, let's say. And usually it's a 200 calorie range. So let's say 1,900 to 2,100. To lose weight, you have to be lower than that. So let's say you're at 1,700. So you're eating there. Your metabolism starts to move down to match that because your body has all these internal systems to match calories in, calories out, like slowing down your thyroid function, getting rid of muscle mass, all of these internal systems. It's very, very smart. Your body doesn't want you to lose weight, which sucks, but it is what it is. So now your metabolism slows down and now your new maintenance is 1,700. So you got to eat lower than that to lose weight, right? So you keep doing this cycle of constantly dieting. And every time you ding the system, your metabolism slows down more and more and more until you get to a point where it's so low that now if you're eating too little, it's negative effects to your body. We're seeing like organs not functioning properly. We're seeing a ton of hormonal imbalances, lots of gut health issues, lots of mood issues, like so many things because now your body can't function optimally because you're not getting enough calories in, not enough nutrients. You can actually have malnutrition this way too, especially if you're pairing that with like poor quality foods and a low calorie diet. You're not in a good state. So now you're in this position where like your body just doesn't function anymore. You can't drop your calories anymore. So then you can't lose weight. So now we have to slowly bring your calories back up to bring your metabolism back up. And we do this slowly, right? So we're at 1,500 to 1,600. The next week we might be at 1,550 to 1,650. Maybe you want to jump by 100 calories every week or every other week. And we're slowly moving that up. So now you actually have room to drop down again. That doesn't mean you're going to gain a bunch of weight during that process. However, you need to be consistent. If you're going to go up and down, or you're going to jump up by a lot, your risk of seeing weight gain does increase substantially. So you have to do it slowly. You have to do this properly, right? And if you have questions about that, just message me. I'm always happy to help walk you through it, how much you should be eating, how much you should be increasing by. We'll go over all your health history. We do that for free. You can book a consultation call for that as well. But I'm always happy to help you with that. But the point is, eating low calorie and dieting all the time, even though you think it might be healthy, is really harmful to your body long term, right? And then we see that stress response goes up very, very easily. This is where we see women really struggle with their cortisol levels. We know how negative that can be. You lose a lot of muscle in a low calorie state. You cannot build muscle in a low calorie state. It does not work. You cannot build muscle in a calorie deficit. So if we're trying to bring your metabolism back up, we're going to have to eat more food. Otherwise, it's just not going to work, right? And this is where you need to reverse diet properly. You go into your fat loss phases, you have appropriate diet breaks. We don't want to be in fat loss or a low calorie state for more than 12 weeks at a time. That tends to be too long for most women, especially since our stress tolerance decreases a lot. So we need to understand how to cycle through this properly. I did a podcast episode not that long ago on the simple seasons of fat loss and like what that cycling kind of looks like. So if you want to learn more about that, you can go back to that podcast as well. But that's number 4. Then we have number 5, which is high protein. Okay, so we all know protein is good, right? We're always told high protein diet will help us lose weight. And while that is true, there is a lot of ways you can mess that up. And I see this all the time. So typically what happens is people are like, okay, I need to eat more protein. The first thing they do is they add in protein powders. They add in the protein bars, the protein cookies, the protein Pop-Tarts. They eat the keto wraps and the low carb breads and all these things. However, those are not whole foods. Those to actually quantify into the 20% of fun foods because they're highly processed. And we need to pay attention to food labels. I did a post about this in the Facebook community comparing 2 different kinds of bread. And one was marketed at 80 calories, but when you actually did the math, it was the same as just a regular whole grain bread. And the whole grain bread actually had less artificial ingredients. It had fewer ingredients. It actually had better amounts of fiber from true fiber because the low carb bread had like 17 grams, which is a lot, and it's from like man-made fibers. And typically a lot of people will have bloating issues, digestion issues when they're having that kind of stuff. There's lots of sugar alcohols in it, which a lot of people struggle with as well. We were looking at the cost of them. And of course, the low carb breads are definitely more expensive, but we broke down everything. And actually the regular whole grain bread, it was a blend that had like quinoa and flax in it, actually had more fiber and more protein and then more natural fiber than a low carb bread. So this is where we have to pay attention because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I eat a high protein diet, but then I look and it's like everything is processed. So we want to be looking at the foods that are whole foods that digest a little bit more slowly because we know 1 gram of protein, we burn a lot more calories during digestion. So that helps boost our calories burned versus those from carbs and fat. However, processed protein versus whole food protein is going to digest more quickly as well, affecting your blood sugars and how full you're feeling and things like that. So we want to make sure most of our protein sources come from whole foods. Okay. We also know that we need to have enough protein because it helps maintain and build that muscle mass, which we know is so important. It helps really slow down that muscle breakdown signal and boost that muscle building signal, which is incredibly important during perimenopause and menopause because our muscle breakdown signal goes up and our muscle building signal goes down when estrogen goes down. So having enough protein, eating it frequently throughout the day, having 20 to 30 grams at each meal plus snacks. Ideally, you want to be at 0.8 grams per pound of body weight, or a max of 150 is usually where I put people, because once you get past that, it's really hard to get it from whole foods because protein is so filling and it does keep you full longer. It does help with your blood sugar control. So when we get past 150, I find a lot of people really start to rely heavily on all the processed food options, which we do not want. So a quick, easy tip is to, whatever protein you're having, just increase your serving sizes a little bit first before trying to add in all these different types of food, because then it can seem very overwhelming and like you're eating all the time. So just like increase the serving that you're already having to make it a little bit easier on yourself. The next one is intuitive eating. I did a whole podcast on this. Intuitive eating is just not great for you. It's a very advanced skill because you're relying on only eating when you're hungry. However, there are so many things that influence your hunger cues, like your hormones, which we know change drastically during perimenopause and menopause and can fluctuate day to day quite erratically, right? If you are sleeping less, you're going to be more or less hungry. The food choices you make, more processed foods digest quicker, so you're going to be hungry sooner. If you have more fiber, if you have more protein, you won't be as hungry, right? Your metabolism, if it's fast, if it's slow, your blood sugar, If you're someone who's dealing with blood sugar crashes all the time, you're going to have cravings. Stress, right? So this is where, for me, if I am stressed out, I don't eat. That's my stress response is I'm running on stress hormones. My cortisol goes up. It crushes my appetite. I will go all day without eating. And then as soon as I get a moment to relax, it's like a boom. You are hit with this uncontrollable hunger in the afternoon. And you start looking for anything you can eat in the pantry. And it starts this like binge restrict cycle that gets really crazy. So I need to know that like when I'm stressed out, I'm not hungry. Does that mean I should not eat? No. I know the difference is, okay, because my cortisol is elevated, I'm not hungry, but I need to eat now because if I don't, later I'm going to have like these crazy cravings that are going to be really hard to deny myself of. So this is where like you really need to learn what your body needs, why you're feeling the way you're feeling, and then pair those two pieces of information to make the best decision for you. So maybe it's like, okay, like I'm not hungry because I just worked out, and working out tends to curb your hunger. But I know that if I don't eat post-workout, I'm going to have my cortisol levels be elevated. So I'm going to be more stressed out. I know that I'm missing out on the opportunity to have carbs without needing insulin, because after exercise, you don't need to use insulin to utilize your sugars. I'm not going to get into the science of that right now. And I know that it'll result in cravings later on, and I'm not going to get as much benefit from my workouts if I'm not having protein after I work out. So I need to know that like what I feel, I can't always trust it. And especially during perimenopause and menopause when your hormones are all over the place, you can't trust what your body's telling you. Your intuition is usually wrong. And I really dive into all the different categories of this and how to get to a point where you can mindfully eat. And that's on episode 83 if you want to go back to. And then number 7 is your early morning workouts. It might seem really healthy, right? I wake up every morning, I work out, and like maybe that's the best time that you can actually make sure that you do it. However, you never want to sacrifice sleep for exercise. There was a study that showed 2 different groups of people in a calorie deficit. The only difference was one group got 5.5 hours of sleep, the other group got 8. The group that got 5.5 hours of sleep burned less fat, so they lost less fat. They burned more muscle, so they lost more muscle, and they had higher craving hormones. So the fact that they weren't sleeping enough, so if you're not sleeping enough and you're getting up early to get this workout in, is it really beneficial for you? Probably not, right? So this is where you need to understand at what point is something beneficial and like what are you sacrificing to do it? And I'm not saying don't resistance train. I'm not saying don't work out in the morning, but really take inventory of where you are in your life. Are you sleeping well? If you're not, maybe we need to take a little bit of break from exercise for a short period of time, address your sleep, fix that first, and then start working out again. And we do this a lot with the women that we coach in our program where we have to tailor back exercise, or we're only working out 2 to 3 days a week, which they can still get fantastic results. And they do, where, you know, we're prioritizing sleep. And when you sleep, that's when you're going to have your growth hormone be highest, which helps you build and repair your muscle mass. It's how you lower your cortisol levels, that stress hormone. If cortisol is too high, it breaks down muscle mass for energy, right? We're also going to see that if we're not sleeping enough and cortisol is high, we're typically going to eat more during the day. We're going to have more cravings. Like for myself, if I got less than 6.5 hours of sleep, I am eating 300 to 500 calories more in a day easily. I figured this out by tracking my sleep with a fitness tracker. And it's wild, like how much more and how much more hungry I am later in the day if I'm having poor sleep, right? You also don't have as great of energy. You're not accessing energy stores as well. So this is where you need to really understand how beneficial is that really for you. So we need to really focus on building your energy and sleep patterns to be better first, and then doing your workouts in the morning, because you might not actually be benefiting from that, which I know can seem pretty crazy because you have to work out, right? But if you're in this stress state and you're never recovering, it doesn't matter. You're not going to build muscle mass. You're probably going to lose more muscle, lose less fat, or gain fat. And that's not why you're working out early in the morning anyways, right? So I do want to recap all 7 of those points, the 7 habits that seem healthy but are keeping you overweight in perimenopause and menopause are doing the cardio HIIT high intensity boot camps, the fasted exercise, using low carb diets, eating a lot of high protein, that is a lot of processed foods, eating low calorie or always on a diet, always chasing weight loss, following intuitive eating, and sacrificing sleep for early morning workouts. And I know that can seem very controversial, but it's true. We need to make sure that your body is working optimally first, that we are addressing your hormone health, your cortisol, your blood sugars, making sure that we are actually setting you up for success so you can see changes. And unfortunately, a lot of the things on this list, you think you're doing benefits for yourself, but you're actually not. So if you have questions on how much you should be eating, if the workouts you're doing are right for you, are you getting enough sleep? Are there other things that we should be watching for? How do you improve your sleep if you're struggling? This is what we're here for. Just message me, book a consultation call. We help you figure out all of this. You figure out your calories. We give you a nutritional roadmap. We tell you how much you should be eating, how much to increase or decrease by, how much protein is your workout, what you should be doing, how can we tweak it, and making sure it fits to your life. So if you have any questions, please reach out. Let us know. I love you so much. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to leave a rating and review, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.